Okay everyone, Thursday's video and plenty to get through today, so no real time to mess around. But before we get on to chat about last night's game, let's mess around for a wee second. Just want to say we've had a fair few subscribers coming through that proverbial door over the last week or so. Who would meet you at the door at 67 Hill Hill? Probably be John. John would probably be standing there and shake your hand. Anyway, thank you is what I'm trying to say. And also we got an email in from a guy called Brian. Hi Brian, you emailed asking how you actually subscribe. Apparently I've never actually explained it before, so I'll do it very quickly. If you're on a laptop or a computer, just hover down there where it says subscribe and click subscribe. On a phone, very much the same story, except of course you're tapping rather than clicking. It takes literally seconds. Okay, I expect this one could be tasty today, so let's just whittle through your comments from last night and tackle the issues that you have brought up. Me and John did the reaction live last night. Click at the top to see it, etc, etc. Right, comment number one comes in from Mark E. Starfelt's solid defensively, but too nervy on the ball. Even under minimal pressure, he has a bad knack for giving the ball away or putting teammates under pressure with dodgy passing. Doesn't help him have an off-form Hatate in front of him, but you'd have to put Jens in front of Starfelt in the team's pecking order. Now, I think it is pretty even between Starfelt and Jens as to who is the best or better partner for Carter Vickers. I think both are going to have a part to play, but it is interesting, you know, over the last wee while, Ange has had, you know, effectively two, sometimes three players for each position, and he's kind of gone through them, rotating them match to match. I'm not sure he'll do that to the same extent at the back in the second half of the season, certainly central defence. I think he's gone on record in the past saying that he likes that part of the team to be settled, and I just get the impression that he really likes the Carter Vickers and Starfelt partnership. So again, just my feeling that that's what we'll see second half of the season, but I think Moritz Jens and Stephen Welsh will still have a part to play. If you're being, you know, hyper critical and looking to the future, which we know Ange is doing, are either Starfelt or Jens good enough to partner Carter Vickers if we want to really keep pushing forward and we're talking about Europe? I think there's very much a question there, but I like both. I like Starfelt, and I think great to see him back, and I think we'll see more of that going forward. Okay, let's tackle VAR, everyone. Let's do this. Bearded Bobber already gave up all hope on VAR and Scottish football. Glad my days paying home and away were before this racket was brought in. Big derby coming up. Ain't seen nothing yet. And Paul McDuff, it was bad enough for us without VAR, now it's being used against us. And Heron Jim, the Jota offside was completely unconvincing. Dangerous tackle, once again not punished. Idiot referees running VAR, no surprises. We're really feeling it today, everyone, aren't we? Not holding back in the comments last night. Listen, it was that kind of night. I don't know if I've ever seen John as, you know, incensed as that before. Really frustrating, a number of decisions. So the offside is extremely tight. Offside, onside, you know, it's Jota's head there up against Stephen O'Donnell's left shoulder. It's extremely hard to call, but that's kind of the issue. How is VAR calling that based on that evidence? Just a wee kind of refresher if you're not aware. Last night's game used 6 cameras from VAR. Just 6, which does seem pretty low. Now, taken from a BBC Explainer article around the time when VAR was coming in about a month ago, they said that the 6 cameras are 2 on the main gantry, 1 looking along each of the 18-yard lines, 1 high up behind one goal and 1 low behind the other, which again just seems a little bit off. So those were the angles that were available for the VAR officials last night. I'd be interested to know if the 18-yard line towards the goal Celtic were shooting in would have been useful for the Jota offside, because it seemed like we got one of the ones in the main stand, you know, in the gantry, and the one on the other 18-yard line that they actually used, bizarrely, as the kind of VAR official photo. It just seemed like everything was off a little bit. And it just seems to me like we're going to get more and more of these decisions going forward in these matches when just 6 cameras are used. And again, these matches are untelevised matches, so effectively, basically every Celtic home match is going to have just 6 cameras, and away games like yesterday, not shown by Sky, could run into these issues. It's obviously a cost problem, that the reason why they didn't have, you know, say double the number of cameras for VAR at every match. They've kind of done it on the cheap, it seems, and you're kind of left scratching your head and wondering what's the point in VAR if it's not able to conclusively prove whether Jota is offside or onside last night. But that's not even the major issue. The major issue for me is the inconsistencies. And for example, last night, the tackle that goes in on Starfelt in the closing stages of the game, that is just so blatantly a red card. In the here and now, when you see the kind of things that players are sent off for, it's when they're out of control, endangering the safety of an opponent. I think both of those could be ticked for that challenge in Starfelt last night. I saw it at the time and I thought, referee's going to send them off. Referee booked him, and then I thought, oh, it's okay. Naively, I thought, it's okay, VAR will deal with this. Motherwell will be down to 10 men. And VAR just didn't deal with it. Maybe they were away making dinner at that stage. The handball stuff as well. It's penalties been given for handballs in some games and penalties not been given for similar handballs in other games. And I think we all know the other games that I'm talking about. It just seems like every game since VAR has come in, Celtic have been affected negatively. And I just think a lot of these decisions are perplexing to say the least. But we will leave VAR Corner for now and no doubt return on Saturday after the Ross County game. Moving on, we're going to feel like you guys are being too soft on the players, or maybe I'm being too harsh. But I thought that was our worst performance of the season, other than St Mirren. Didn't think Jota did anything creatively tonight. His passing was awful. O'Reilly looked tired and languid. So many times he just didn't look sharp in the midfield, giving away needless fouls, and didn't think his passing was great either. The whole team were really poor with passing. Only players who got pass marks for me were CCV, Starfelt and Moy. Kyogo, if I'm feeling kind. Everyone else was miles off the level we know they're capable of playing at. I didn't think we were great last night. I said that in the reaction, that I felt like our passing was off at times. We gave the ball away cheaply quite a lot, but I also felt that quality was never far away, and I think we saw that on occasions last night, especially in the second half. The quality in that move for the aforementioned disallowed goal, Kyogo, Jota, that's 2 players right there, both produced a bit of quality, and you know, we know what happened. And for the actual goal that we did get in the second half, Turnbull, great pass, Maida. How could I get those two mixed up? They look nothing alike at all. Maida goes through, slots it in, and again, you know, real quality there. Now, I wouldn't say any of those players really had a particularly amazing game last night. I thought Kyogo was, you know, relatively good, but certainly the rest, you know, were kind of quiet, even though some of them were subs, but they had that bit of quality, and I think that's what separates us from the rest of the league at the moment. We always just have that bit of quality to follow on, whether it be the first minute or the last minute or any time in between. I think we can certainly play better, but I am determined to give the team the benefit of the doubt this week. It doesn't feel like a week to look at the levels of the performance and be critical. It feels like a week to win. That's kind of been the theme that I've been trying to get across all week on the channel, because it's how I feel. It's about 2 wins this week. We got the first of those last night, and going into Saturday against Ross County, if we win the scrappiest 1-0 of all time, honestly, I'll take it right now. Get us into the World Cup break, 7 points clear. That'll be a real kind of good point to you know, stop and have a wee bit of reflection. I think it's been a really tough period for the players. It's been a tough period for the support as well. You know, we can look at the Champions League and do as much separating of that as we want. You know, the league's one thing, the Champions League is another. But that was a really kind of disappointing period, I think. Disappointing campaign, you know, not being able to get a victory, and it must have been just as disappointing for the players. And I think it's a real credit to them that throughout the league matches, with the exception of St Mirren, they have won and kept winning, and as a result we're in a really good place in the league. So for me, you know, it's about winning this week. If we win against Ross County on Saturday, we'll have won 14 of our first 15 games of the Premiership season. Imagine you'd offered someone that at the start of the campaign. You'd be buzzing with that, considering, you know, how many points we dropped at the start of last season. So I think, you know, performance, yes, it can be so much better, but I think get into the break, come back from the break, I think they'll be really intent on getting back to their best, and I think we'll see some really good performances from that point onwards. Right, moving on, cooking with Chef Dai. I now doubt myself if that's even the real name, but we'll go with it. Kyogo Jota goal would have been goal of the season. That's what I'm talking about with the quality. Kyogo for that move's brilliant. I think it's a bad he works a 1-2 with. He sees Jota, and you know, Jota's finish as well is outrageous. It was almost the reverse of that goal against Ferencváros about a year ago. Next up, Robert Arbuckle. Wonder if we've scored more goals in the first 15 minutes of league games or the last 15. Over to you, Hamish. I can't be arsed looking. Cheers for that, Robert. You just kind of made me spend about an hour and a half earlier trying to work this out, and also looking or making a visual representation of when we score in matches. And this is it right here. So that is, as you can see, our 14 Premiership matches that we've played so far this season, starting with Aberdeen on the left-hand side, working its way down onto this kind of second part, all the way down to Motherwell last night. And obviously the balls there show when we scored in the matches. So yeah, we've scored a lot of early goals, you know, Aberdeen, Killie, Hearts, Dundee United, Rangers, Motherwell, Hibs, Hearts, Livingston, Dundee United, Motherwell again. I mean, the last 5 matches in a row in the league, I think we've scored within 15 minutes, which is just brilliant. But we also score a hell of a lot of late goals. I mean, last night we score final 10 minutes. We scored 2 in the final stoppage time at the weekend against Dundee United. We scored late against Livy, kind of late against Hearts, late against Hibs, really late winner against St Johnstone, and even in the kind of first part of the season, you know, 2 late goals at Ross County there, late at Hearts. I think that was final kick of the game to seal that at Celtic Park. And I just think as matches go on, we just seem relentless at this level. So the short answer there is that we scored a lot of early goals, but we scored even more late in the game. Just in terms of Ange stuff, he spoke about not liking grinding out results. He was asked, I think, 2 or 3 questions after the game. Oh, it must make you feel good grinding out games. And the typical Ange response was, I don't really like grinding out games, mate. But he also said that it's natural over the course of the season that this will happen. The answer that I wanted to read out was his response. He's kind of already had a response, but his further response to the whole Scotland situation. Quick refresher, Scotland are playing Turkey, I think, next week in a match that was organised like 2 weeks ago. Genuinely, I don't think it even had a stadium like a week ago. At the same time, Celtic are obviously going to Australia. It's not an official FIFA window, so Celtic don't have to release their players to international duty, and we're therefore deciding not to release their players to international duty. So the likes of Ralston, who else? Turnbull, Taylor, James Forrest will be staying with Celtic and not available for Scotland international football. Steve Clarke yesterday spoke about being disappointed at that. Didn't seem totally happy either, and Ange just had a brilliant response last night after the game. He said it's fair enough that he's disappointed because he is in charge of the national team. There is no issue there. I get disappointed when players go away with the national team and don't play and get injured. We are all big boys and we can get on with it. It is not our issue. It's FIFA who designated it not an international window. We've had our trip in planning for a long time. It's important for our club and supporters. I have no issues with Steve. If he was the club manager, he probably wouldn't release the players. I thought he handled that brilliantly. Other results last night then and Tuesday night as well. The top two there were on Tuesday. Ross County, a couple of wins in a row, winning away to Hibs 2-0. Livingston beating Aberdeen 2-1. Dundee United thumping Kilmarnock 4-0. Rangers beating Hearts 1-0 last night. And late drama in Paisley in the Saints derby with St Johnstone scoring a late equaliser. This is what the league table looks like. Celtic still top of the table. Still a 7-point gap at the top. Still that goal difference looking great. Next up for us is Ross County at the weekend. As I say, they've picked up a bit, but are still sitting 10th in the league. I am going to head now. I'm going to head for the hills. We are back tomorrow with Joe Ledley looking ahead to the Ross County game. Yes, it's a very special week. Not one, but two former Celtic greats on the channel. Any questions for Joe on his career, Celtic, etc., fire them below in the comments. Don't forget to subscribe. I explained how to do it at the start. And we shall speak to you tomorrow.